Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for joining us for another edition of our CX and CRM podcast. We have a very interesting topic today, something we've been discussing with a lot of our clients in recent days. We have a special guest. Can you, Chris, tell us a little bit about yourself?
Chris Tompkins. I work in the office of the CTO at Zendesk, working with some of our largest customers across EMEA, looking at how we can improve the Zendesk product, but also work with them to tell them about our roadmap and vision going forward.
We work with the more complex cases that Zendesk has in the media, right?
But definitely the more complex, more enterprise-focused customers.
Great.
Absolutely.
So something that we wanted to touch base on today was AI readiness for organizations. There's been a lot of movement in the last year. We've been working in the AI space now for a couple of years. And in line with this, recently, less than a month ago, we had the MIT report on the generative AI divide and the state of AI in business for 2025. They generated this report based on research on how businesses are adopting AI. And I'm happy to share the report if anyone wants to contact me. But there's a lot of findings that we are able to get out of the report that go very much in line with the experience that we're having with clients, right? So some of the key insights are organizations have been experimenting with AI, putting their teams to work on things. And then there is the real impact that's delivering. So what's the status of that? That's part of what the report covers. What are the denominators for those companies that have been successful at implementing AI? Having strategic clarity, the right data, and human and AI collaboration, and the importance of partnerships that is highlighted by the MIT report, right? I think you probably come across this quite a lot, right? And we've been able to read the report together. What resonates from a vendor perspective in terms of what's coming out from the MIT report?
So I think there's a lot that resonates from the MIT report vendor perspective. We as a vendor have a clear strategy to be this AI-powered resolution platform, which provides these sort of AI capabilities that improve both customer journeys, that agent productivity, but most importantly, deliver against like real business outcomes. To deliver on that, we aligned with the report. We understand this importance of this sort of like strong data foundation, being able to get knowledge from lots of different systems into your platform to be able to power the solutions, the answers that you're going to provide to your customers, but also integrating into other systems. And we see that being really important, definitely to help change CX from being a system of knowledge to really being a system of action. Yeah. And give you an example of what that means. Imagine I'm a customer of an airline. I'm going to go on a flight. And for some reason, I need to change my booking. Today, I think with most airline CX team, I would go and ask that question and I would be told how I can change my booking. It's not what I want as a customer.
Yeah.
I want you to actually help me change my booking. So making that transition is really important. That data foundation is really important. I guess the final couple of things where there's good alignment between the report and us as a vendor is around AI and humans. We don't see AI completely replacing humans. We see a place for both, whether that be jobs just for AI and jobs just for humans, but more commonly jobs handled by humans supported by AI. The final one being partnerships. We're in a sector that's changing rapidly with lots of technology, lots of different people involved as well. And so strong partnerships, both with AI vendors, large language model providers, and also partners like yourselves for actually helping people go on that AI transformation journey, I think is really important.
In the end, we partner with the client.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
it's a triangle. The technology innovator, the partner who people like us who have experience implementing, and the customer who knows their business better than anybody.
Absolutely.
And something that I think was really interesting to get out of the report is you mentioned there's a difference between knowledge and actionable knowledge. And what the report highlights is that actionable knowledge requires context. And this is something that the AI technology is still quite bad at. It doesn't always understand the contextual environment that it's working on. That specific instance of a client, what's happening to the client, which a human can do really easy. A human can really empathize with the situation of the client in a millisecond.
Yeah.
If you don't have a specific instruction, AI is very difficult. To create those models of learning context and maintain that context memory is very difficult at the moment. So I think what we're seeing is a bit of a reality check. The products are amazing, the technology is amazing, but you have to be ready to implement correctly to make the most out of that investment. So what are the things that frontline teams are experimenting? We know organizations are struggling with fragmentation, knowledge gaps, because there's a lot of the knowledge in the organizations is in the brains of people. The operational flow inertia that is created when you create very streamlined systems, the fear of AI from people adopting it at a business level. What are you seeing on your side?
I think we're definitely seeing all of those things with a lot of the customers that we work with. So let's go through some of those. On a fragmentation point of view, we definitely see that both data and processes tend to be quite fragmented in CX teams. That can be a real inhibitor to transitioning into this AI-powered world. Also, teams are already looking at how they can bring some of those things together to have a more consolidated, joined-up story. We definitely see big knowledge gaps. Understanding of AI, but also understanding of process. Some of this sits in people's heads, they're actually written down. So I think those things are inhibitors to actually starting to deliver some automated solutions to these. Operational inertia, CX teams are surviving and delivering based on processes they've had for some time. Some of them can't see that vision of where they want to get to. The last one is fear of AI. Some teams are very worried about AI replacing their jobs. Some are fearful that AI is not going to actually deliver the right thing to their customers or as good an experience to their customers as they can deliver today. I think all of those things are definitely in play today. We definitely see them with a lot of our customers.
I think we definitely see it as well from a fragmentation perspective. The majority of clients are not up to date with how they manage and understand data. For teams to achieve operational efficiency, data needs to be understood, well connected, well integrated, and it has to flow correctly. In terms of knowledge gaps, I think this is where organizations are wasting a lot of time because they are not able to see beyond the next tasks as opposed to forming a vision of where they need to get to. And we're going to talk a little bit about this later, how knowledge is embedded in an organization's ways of working in an actual text. Knowledge management is becoming a foundational piece for AI, right? So creating those new roles in the service teams, in the CX teams, I think is quite important. Over the last 18 months, there's been a lot of hype around what AI can do. Sometimes maybe overhyped by the visionaries of the world.
Yeah.
But the reality in business is that you need to have your team very prepared to adopt it. Otherwise, you're going to waste a lot of money.
Yeah.
And in that process, things can ruin. So when we talk about defining AI readiness, which is, I think, the theme under which we engage with customers a lot these days, we talk about a framework that breaks down into 4 pieces. The strategic framework, how do you align any AI activity with what you want to achieve in terms of business objectives? The operational framework, these things that we've been talking about. The tactical and technology framework, what technology tools can be used to enhance human operations. Because as much as people like to think, humans are not going to disappear from the mix. And it's more about mixing these two. So where do you think organizations are the weakest from strategic, operational, tactical, technical? Where do you see the weakest link?
Yeah, great question. Different companies tend to be strong and weak in different layers. Nearly all companies that we speak to are pretty weak in the foundational layers, the strategy and operational layers. That's for a number of reasons. These AI capabilities are still relatively new.
And they're changing really fast.
And they're changing really fast. Yeah. For us as vendors and technology providers who understand this technology, they're changing incredibly fast for support teams who don't necessarily understand these technologies in depth. I think as well with CX teams, they quite often get left behind. They tend to be thought of as one of the least important teams in a business, but actually they're the teams that have the most interactions with their customers.
More like a cost center rather than an innovation.
Absolutely, yeah. And also they're the voice of your business. And so I think that's really important. Another reason why companies are weak when it comes to these things is that these teams know they need to change, but they don't really know how. They're not necessarily familiar with the technology or can't see how this technology is going to benefit them or what the future looks like in terms of a CX team powered by AI.
In practical terms, it's not their job to visualize what the future will look like. And when you have a standard knowledge of what should happen, what a maturity curve looks like, then you can plan for it because there's a best practice behind it. The challenge with AI now is that if it's changing so fast, imagine for a small team of CX practitioners, right? Their horizon is so short that it's very difficult to see, okay, if we start working towards this in 2 months, 3 months, what's going to happen in 6 months when things change? Yeah, I definitely see that as a challenge. But what happens when there's no effort on setting up these foundational layers? What is the impact not doing this?
I think what we see when we have companies that skip these foundational layers, they tend to end up executing poorly scoped pilots without any clear success criteria. You end up delivering a solution that maybe is not as good as what you deliver today, or maybe slightly better, but it's not really transformational.
Yeah.
A good example of this is customers who roll out a generative bot. It gives a customer quicker answers to their questions. Maybe it provides some answers that a tier one agent could and would have done themselves in the past. But it's not a real game changer. It's not helping those customers actually take action on the questions that they have. It's really just providing a shortcut to that knowledge. So they're the sorts of things that we see quite often. Building something that is a bit better or maybe not quite as good, but isn't really transformational to the business.
Yeah. So I think this is where the MIT report quoted that 95% of the companies they studied were not successful at implementing AI internally. And obviously, the process of designing a tech product has a lot of pieces that are underestimated. Trying to understand the user, the technology, the output result, how much vision can you have of how the technology is going to evolve in the next year. Takes us to the next subject, build or buy, because this is where we've actually seen a lot of clients saying, oh, hold on, we're going to build our own GPT version of our customer service platform. And even though the technical capability is there, things like contextual learning, educating the AI to not hallucinate, to give concrete answers, to give answers that are not designed to please the person asking, as opposed to just provide a objective, accurate response. They take so much effort. And not only effort, the know-how, the science know-how behind it is huge. So in that regards, when customers come to you and say, hey, we can build this thing, because they are pretty large companies, we're talking about thousands of people with pretty large tech teams, right? So how do you see this approach to this conversation?
Quite a frequent conversation that we have with customers, this sort of build versus buy conversation. And I think the problem with it generally is that people see buying as meaning you have to settle for less or that you're locked into a particular platform or solution. That's not something that we try and do with Zendesk. We want you to understand that when you buy AI from Zendesk, it gives you a number of benefits. Some of these are access to these AI capabilities natively built into the platform. So these things aren't an add-on. They're not a chatbot you have to talk to and copy and paste information back into your workspace. These are things that are built into the experience. We also expect these capabilities to be the sorts of things that are delivered with the same rigorous discipline and accountability that you'd expect from other mission critical parts of your estate. And so with that in mind, Zendesk has already gained certification in a number of different places. One of these is the new ISO 42001 standard. And another one is the CSA Start AI levels 1 and 2. We're one of our first in the industry to achieve this certification. The key elements are around risk and impact assessment of AI,
Security,
so governance, perform continuous learning, the contextual piece, and also transparency. We think these things are going to become increasingly important in these AI solutions. When you buy into Zendesk, I think the other thing that's really important is you're buying into not just one large language model, not just one solution, a team of AI specialists, data scientists who are evaluating multiple models, multiple large language vendors to deliver the best solution for you as customers as part of our platform. We think that's really important rather than you having to do this yourself.
Yeah. Something that I've seen on some of the projects that we've done that I thought is pretty cool is how when you put a AI Advance, the AI Advance package, and you plug it into your ticketing system, the training is like nothing.
Yeah.
Because Zendesk AI is being trained on millions of tickets already.
Yep.
So just that ability to plug and play and know that agent is providing support to a person requiring support. It's something so simple, but if you have to train on accuracy to a brand new AI agent that you're creating, that's a massive task on its own. Which actually the Gartner has a really interesting approach on how to invest in technology projects, and they call it the pace layered technology strategy. They say you should buy systems of innovation such as AI, omnichannel, communications, etc., and you should build differentiation. Most companies today have the ability to build differentiation through technology, and that's where their investment should go. Something that is very unique to their business, something that represents intellectual property for the way they do business in their industry. Let's talk a little bit about what does the future of a CX team look like? Because if you think about it, you still see customer service teams that are very old school. One customer service manager, a few people specialize in specific areas, and this person is basically supervising and mentoring these people. How is this shifting with the introduction of these capabilities?
Yeah, I think we're definitely seeing that shifting. I think you're right in terms of the standard layout of a CX team. We typically see multiple tiers of agents, tier 1 type agents who are handling the simplest things, triaging, for example. Tier 2 agents more advanced. We definitely see that sort of like team leader, supervisor type role who is looking after human agents, working out what they're doing. And then we tend to see a number of different supporting roles. So people who look after knowledge, workforce management, quality, etc. And maybe ultimately the person who is head of the support team, typically viewed as a cost center, something that we have to do. We see lots of customers come to us and say, we understand that AI is going to change our industry, but we're not really sure how our team needs to change. And we don't have that team yet. This is the team that we have today. What we're seeing and what we're envisaging here is that tier 1 agent type role will absolutely be replaced by some AI capability. We're definitely going to see that happening. We're definitely going to see tier 2 agents still being there. So really focused on more VIP interactions, more nuanced interactions. They're going to be more highly skilled people. We're also going to see that team leader you had before becomes a supervisor, not only of human beings, but also of these AI agents. So looking and seeing how those two things are working in conjunction. Are they delivering the capabilities you want? And we also see that those individual roles around knowledge, workforce management, automation, and operations start becoming these AI service architects. These people who are transitioning from a human-focused role in CX to more of a technology-focused role in CX, building out these automations, building these customer journeys, building these agent-supported workflows that really help optimize your CX experience.
I think this is an area where we see there's a little bit of fear and misunderstanding from CX teams or CX leaders. Let's say the head of customer service. When we say you have to incorporate tech roles into your team, they often think we're talking about software developers. And it's not the case. We're actually talking about people who really understand how the technology pieces come together.
And understand your business.
And
understand your CX processes and workflows. Experts.
And they need to understand what are the strategic CX KPIs that they need to hit. Are they reducing your time to respond to clients, increasing your NPS, your CSAT, etc.? And they need to match that objective with what capabilities do we need to weave together into the technology knowledge management becomes a centerpiece for building AI capability. So how do you bring knowledge from back office operations into the service team, materialize the knowledge in something that can be used by agents, customers, and AI bots? We call them CX architects, people that understand the technology, that are very good at connecting the dots between the business processes and the technology capabilities. They are generally business analysts that have a good understanding of the technology. They don't have to be software developers.
Correct.
It helps that they can touch the technology. A lot of the tech is now drag and drop, configuration based, not a heavily technically focused role. I think important to know. Obviously, there will be a layer of software development underneath, but that will be provided by the tech teams. These teams are now able to start without overcomplicating things. So what is the recommendation then to get going?
Yeah, I think this is a great question, Hideki, in terms of how you can start adapting your teams now. What do you need to look at? I think the key changes happening here is a shift from CX being a heavily people and process driven operation to being more focused on technology. Now, that doesn't mean that everyone has to become a technical expert overnight. The tools are there to make these things, much more simple. What we're seeing as a good example of this is we're seeing companies take their best tier one agents and actually have them work on documenting processes and procedures, start building out these AI agents that can automate customer journeys for the workflows that they're doing all the time. And that then basically means that these tier one agents either end up becoming skilled in these technologies so they can become these first CX architects, AI architects, whatever we want to call them. But they might also end up being more skilled so that they can take up a tier two role. Yeah. So they can end up being focused on the higher value customers, the more nuanced inquiries that are coming in from customers. We definitely see both of those things happening. I'll give you a good example. I met with a retailer and the first time I met with them, they were like, we've got 20 people in our CX team. The next time I saw them 12 months later, they were like, I've now only got 15 agents in my team, but I've actually got 2 people that are focused on that AI automations, that sort of AI architect type role. One of them had come from externally. One of them was an external hire who was an expert in those technologies. Another one had come from their CX team who had moved into that role because they had an interest in that role. We definitely see those sort of transitions happening.
I think the element is understanding before you get an initiative, having the awareness of what things are important. So that AI readiness piece we talked about before, being strategically aligned, being operationally able, being tactically able to pick up and enable the tools to the teams. And then from a data and integrations perspective, the technical strategy. So we see this as a fundamental piece that organizations that are looking at CX need to pay attention to. Because if they don't, they're probably going to waste a lot of time. And there's always going to be the debate of, should we build or should we buy? And the answer is actually both, right? You should build some things because you're going to need data, you're going to need integrations. There's going to be pieces that have to integrate with the technology you buy. And that conversation, I think, is not a binary answer, right? It's not a yes or no. It's more, okay, we have to find the right way to do it, buy where it makes sense to buy, right? What's your vision? What's Zendesk vision for the next 12 to 24 months on how you're going to impact the space?
Yeah, I think loads of stuff going on in this space, as we mentioned before, fast moving space, some key drivers, some key pieces that we're focused on. Ultimately building out this CX platform that's focused on resolving customers' problems. We want to move away from being a platform where it's just about gathering interactions on different channels to helping you resolve those customer interactions. We want to also be focused on providing tools and providing capabilities that help automate the things that make your CX team better. For example, building out a knowledge base takes time, it takes effort.
Yeah.
If we can do some of that for you based on the interactions that you're getting and how your agents are responding, wouldn't that make your life easier? Simplification and integration of that broader CX platform. It's also around workforce management. It's also around these AI capabilities, building out these AI agents or building out assisted workflows. How can we make that whole process feel much more integrated and simple? We also want to continue to focus on that data foundation that we talked about before. How can we get more sources of knowledge into your platform to help empower this AI capability. We know knowledge is fundamental to that. How can we get more integrations to backend systems into this platform so that we can fulfill this vision of a CX platform focused on taking action rather than just knowledge? The final bit is really focusing on the next level of AI, thinking about agentic capabilities. AI capabilities in the past, and we've all experienced these with poor experiences with bots, for example, have very much been prescriptive. It's broken.
Yeah.
I get stuck. I try and speak to an agent and I can't. It's all really bad. We've definitely seen a transition to those things being more conversational. But now what we're really thinking is with agentic is making these things more goal orientated. I tell the bots, these are the goals I want you to automate. This is what the objective is. Now you go and have a conversation with the customer, however they want to, fill out that information and then get it to us so that we can actually take action.
You have to build the concept for the bot to have agency on solving the problem as opposed to just following a flow, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's such a cool concept because you're giving the agent a goal and then the agent will have the tools to solve that problem.
Correct. And if the customer doesn't provide the right information or enough information, the AI agent can bring them back into line to achieve the goal they need to achieve.
Yeah. I think also because you don't work with one single AI vendor, you integrate into all the core big vendors.
Absolutely.
You take the capabilities and combining them into one.
Exactly.
And the concept of I think a lot of people misunderstand agentic AI when they think it's because it's an agent, but actually creating the agency or the goal-oriented focus bot is where I think you elevate the next step.
You're allowing that AI agent to behave like a human agent would. If you compare this with a human agent, the bots of the early days were very much like an agent following a fully scripted flow. And now you're
a very dumb agent.
Exactly, a really dumb agent. Now you're really trying to deliver these AI agent experiences that are like you engaging with the best agent in your team.
Yeah. So with the right foundation, companies can start building this up. The thing that you have to do if you want to get started will be to really understand under what framework you're going to be working, to be very aware on what are the risk elements. Because when you remove risk, when you mitigate risk, that's when you start creating a foundation that is trustworthy. If you cannot trust the thing you're building, then it's a waste of time. Safety, security, reliability, accuracy, all of these things are very, very important. Yeah. So you need to be very aware of that. What would be your closing takeaway for people watching this?
As we said before, this is a super fast moving sector. This is going to transform the way in which you as companies do CX. But we, as Zendesk, with partnerships with the likes of redk, can come and help you on that journey to transform your CX experience from what you have today to being that exceptional CX that you really want to see in the future, where your customers will engage with your customer support function to take action and resolve their problems.
It becomes a differentiator rather than a cost.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
Thank you very much for the time today. Feel free to get in touch with us. If you want a copy of the reports, I'll be happy to get in touch directly. Just message me. And thank you very much, Chris. Hopefully we do more of this. So thank you.